Warning, F-bombs are armed and may well be dropped. Not so much this time. I'm doing something very unusual for me. I'm actually reading a script. So, right now, this second, I do not envy the directors of the CIA, FBI, or their counterpart agencies. The last week has seen a mass suicide bombing in Sri Lanka, an attempted mass shooting in a California Jewish chapel, the arrest of a new convert to jihadism with a U.S. Army background, an attempt by Antifa to buy actual assault weapons on the Mexican black market, and now the probably inevitable Venezuelan civil war explode into open violence, with documented blue-on-blue incidents. As of this time, I don't know who's winning the war, and the chances are not very good that the combatants do either. No, I don't envy the directors of the various world security agencies in the least. They didn't have ulcers before this. They have one now. Here's the good news, if there is any. 1. Someone, probably an FBI agent, risked their freedom without trial to reveal what's going on with Antifa. The leaked report about Antifa trying to buy guns from Mexican drug cartels was marked sensitive officer information, safety information, which most cops would rather go to prison than reveal. To date, I only know of 2 that were leaked. One about a handgun that was powerful enough to justify the expense of an officer safety bulletin, and the other about a defect in certain brands of handcuffs. The fact that this unnamed agent leaked the report tells me that law enforcement is taking 917 as seriously as they can, but the fact is that Antifa even trying to obtain these weapons tells me there's very little that can be done about it. Apparently, ISIS has not learned from their mistakes. Rather than developing new and innovative tactics, they're falling back on older tactics that, while effective in the smaller scale, are unproductive or even counterproductive in the big scale. A bomb only works once, and a suicide bomber is only as effective as the number of times he can strike. In short, there is no good news. Only lesser bad news. The Manchester bombing proves that suicide bombs aren't terribly effective. Even the London truck attack was more effective than the bombing. The Sri Lankan bombings only prove they can be effective if you get some degree of luck. In this case, one second. Sorry. In this case, they use effective statistical modeling to try to determine the best time to strike, and happen to get a 29-to-1 ratio. One bad break in the chain, say a blown tire or a flu outbreak, those things have happened, and they would have gotten basically nothing for their efforts. Any survivors of a given blast is basically a failed mission, and we already know there were at least as many survivors, that means unhurt or minor injuries not requiring medical hospitalization, as there were victims injured requiring hospitalization and killed. Even 30-to-1 is a poor return on investment. 40-to-1 is barely a qualified success. Generally speaking, 50-to-1 is a good return. 100-to-1 is the max that could ever reasonably be expected without exceptional circumstances. striking something that they didn't know was there, that created an escalation of the chaos. The Bats clan attacks actually did more measurable damage, mostly in the form of psychological damage, in that Parisians simply weren't psychologically ready for such an event, the body count notwithstanding. Add to this the chaos of Venezuela, and we now have a horrific discord of insanity. If Satan himself were to conduct an orchestra, it would still turn out better. And then there's the bad news. Yeah, the bad news is still yet to come. The very real probability this wasn't the real attack, but rather a test of the West's willingness to engage, to see if the Americans would be willing to intercede if ISIS struck, if Venezuela collapsed, if Antifa finally found their balls in a sock drawer somewhere. Collectively, our takeaway is this: keep your head on a swivel and take nothing for granted. It's going to be what you didn't see coming that is the most dangerous. Keep calm and mandatory carry on. Go see Alito.